Good evening and welcome to the District 3 virtual. Got it. Good evening and welcome to the District 3 virtual town hall meeting.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being hunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
Good evening and welcome to the District 3 virtual town hall meeting. I am Patrice Jordan Robinson, Council Chairwoman, and your District 3 representative. I am so happy to have you join with me this evening. We started the meeting off tonight with the video, which I thought was appropriate in light of the conversations that have been taking place across the country relative to police brutality and systemic racism. I felt we had to acknowledge that in the murder of George Floyd because his death has been at the top of our minds for weeks. As the conversations about race and inequity have dominated the conversations, the health inequities in our community are also a conversation that needs to be had. That's why I have invited two experts who are dealing directly with COVID-19 health crisis, which is impacting African Americans in a disproportionate manner. And because of existing conditions and how they contribute to the severity of the illness. So let's get right into our town hall today. I want to first welcome Pastor Diane Young with the Healing Center, who will provide our invocation. After she offers her prayer, the agenda will be placed on the screen and we can get started. I want you to know Diane Young is a friend of mine. She is a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a sister, an administrator, a talk show co host, a teacher, a preacher, an evangelist, and a pastor, as well as an author. Diane, pray us away.
Thank you, friend. Shall we pray? Father, as we come together this hour, we come asking for your blessing, your help, your presence to be with us. We pray for guidance as information is imparted to us. Give us the desire to find ways to make our community a better place, a safer place, a place where residents excel in life as they live the abundant life. Help us to work together. Give us the desire to build up one another and not tear each other down. If our agendas are not what you would have them to be, reset our agendas. As we assemble, we want you to be our honored guests. We want your name in our midst. Today, we ask you that you will recalibrate our intentions and refocus our hearts. Give us clarity of thoughts to the process processes, and everything that is presented to us tonight and in this community. God, we ask you that you would show us how to move forward with a spirit of joy, enthusiasm, and excellence. We ask for a special blessing for those who are on the front line. Give them wisdom, give them understanding. We pray for the officials of this city, and we ask you to bless in a special way our city council chairwoman, Patrice Robinson, and her staff for making this possible. And now, Lord, we ask you to bless us indeed, enlarge our territory, keep your hand upon us, let no evil harm us, and let us cause no pain. We know that you know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen and what lies ahead, and therefore we trust you. And we thank you in advance for listening and answering this prayer, for it's in the precious, majestic name of Jesus the Christ that we pray. Amen.
And thank you, Pastor Young.
You're welcome.
The Healing Center is located at 3885 Tullahoma, right here in District 3. Pastor Young has hosted District 3 constituents for many times in her church for my meetings, my town halls, and I thank her for all that she has done to support the community and as well for joining us this evening. The agenda it was just on the screen. We will have first Dr. Bruce Randolph. He's a health officer for the Shelby County Health Department. I want to just share just a few things about Dr. Randolph. He is a native of Live Oak, Florida. You're a long way from home, but Memphis is now home. He attended Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University, on a football scholarship and graduated summa cum laude from Tuskegee University with a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. I want to also share with you that Dr. Randolph has been married to his wife, Mildred Randolph. And she's a Tuskegee graduate as well for 40 years. They have three children. And Dr. Randolph currently resides here in Memphis, Tennessee. I will ask Dr. Randolph to stay with us to hear Dr. Jan's presentation before I allow him to bring forth his presentation, so that if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat box so that I can see them, or wherever your live comments are, I'll be able to ask those questions. So Dr. Randolph, at the end of your presentation, please stay with us so that we can get questions from both you and Dr. Jane. Dr. Randolph, you have the floor.
Yeah, good evening to everyone. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I had some technical difficulty because I'm computer challenged. Anyway, it's a pleasure to be part of this program. And Chairman Robinson, I thank you for the opportunity. What I like to do is just sort of give an overview of the health department's response to COVID-19. As you well know, that COVID-19 is caused by a virus called a coronavirus. It's a new virus that humanity had not been exposed to before. This virus is spread primarily through respiratory droplets from coughing, sneezing, talking loud, singing. And this virus appears to infect many people of various ages. Although young people can get infected, they tend not to be affected as older people are. But this virus causes respiratory problems in addition to other health problems. We're finding that it also um, tends to cause death more in older people than young people. We got a first case, I think, back in March of March 8th, 2020. And now I think our cases are up to over 8,000. So the health department response to this epidemic, pandemic rather, is that it's based on the fact that we are limited in what our particular choices are in terms of treatment. There's no medication that really kills the virus or effectively treat the infection, nor is there a vaccine. So our approach has been to try to prevent the transmission of this virus through containment. And that's why in the early stages, we initiated the stay at home policy to try to avoid people coming in contact with other people. We emphasize separation at least 6 feet, wearing facial covering, a mask, washing your hands, and cleaning and disinfecting surfaces. Now that the virus appears to be spreading, is that we're moved more into mitigation, in which we're trying to limit at least the number of people who will get infected and try not to overwhelm our healthcare system. And so our efforts now are still on emphasizing minimal 6 feet separation, wearing of facial covering and mask, washing your hands, cleaning and disinfecting surfaces. But we're also encouraging testing, because we need to know who's infected, identify those who've been infected, place them into isolation, and those who have come in contact with someone infected, identify them and place them in quarantine. That's called contact tracing, and monitoring their symptoms in an attempt that we can continue to limit the number of people who may get infected, so that we can return to our economy to some level. Returning back to normal as usual is way off. And pretty much that has been our approach. That is what we're emphasizing through the issuing of health directives. Most recent health directive that was issued was today, Health Directive number 7, that pretty much spells out what safety measures individuals should take, as well as services and businesses should take, as well as parameters on which businesses can operate. So that's pretty much an overview of Shelby County Health Department's response to the COVID-19. And I think I'll stop here and entertain any questions when the time is appropriate.
Thank you, Dr. Randolph. I want to also introduce to our listening and viewing audience, Dr. Jane. He is an infectious disease consultant for the city of Memphis, and he's on faculty at Rollins School of Public Health. He's a medical advisor to the mayor of Memphis on COVID-19. He's a consultant to the World Health Organization on tuberculosis. I'd like to welcome to our town hall meeting Dr. Manoj Jain.
Chairwoman Robinson, Dr. Randolph, a pleasure to be here. And Dr. Randolph, thank you for your contribution and leadership at this very difficult time from the health department. We are living in a very difficult time. You and I have never ever imagined that we would be seeing such a day when we would not be able to get together in person. that we would think twice about going to the grocery store and have to worry about catching a virus that could cause us to be ill and those who are around us, our family members, and our elderly. But that time is here in a way that is unprecedented, and we are in a quandary, in a dilemma, and how to behave and how to react and how to respond at this difficult time. I will say that some people are responding, but there are many who are not responding properly. So today, this afternoon, in fact, I had to take my daughter's car for service. We went to the Honda dealership to go for service. She's going off to medical school and preparing everything for her. And I went into the service station, and there were two gentlemen who were behind the desk. Now, my daughter and I came in. We both had masks on. And there were two gentlemen, and both of them were doing a lot of paperwork, and there were people in line ahead of us. We stayed 6 feet distant from the person who was ahead of us. There were others who were customers who were there. They were wearing a mask. But the two gentlemen that were behind the desk servicing others were not wearing a mask. They were not even telling others to social distance. Now, they were in their late 50s. They were heavy-set folks, and there was a real concern. And I told them, I said, are you not worried? Do you not hear what people are saying about wearing a mask and the importance of wearing a mask and why they're not wearing a mask? And their response was, oh, it's okay. Our owner doesn't tell us to wear a mask, and so we're not. I will say that is a very bad choice on both part of the employer as well as the individuals who are working. What I want to tell you is what we're dealing with is quite serious. And to put it into some stark perspective, it's this. 1 in 200 people you will meet will have the COVID virus around in our community right now. We know that the COVID virus is present. We know that we are seeing a large amount of community transmission that is happening. We're seeing people who are getting infected with the virus. And so what we know is that there are going to be people you and I will encounter in our day-to-day work, social settings, settings at at the grocery store. We harbor the virus within ourselves, and we don't know that we can transmit it and that we're transmitting it asymptomatically. And so what's really important to know is, 1, that the virus is within our community, that there is a good percentage of the population that still has the virus and they're transmitting it asymptomatically, and that we need to impact the virus in terms of diminishing the case numbers and the hospitalizations by doing what we know is the right thing to do. So there are several caveats to this. The virus is not affecting all people equally. What we do know that it does cause a greater amount of hospitalizations, mortality, which are deaths, amongst the elderly. We also know that the virus is more predominant amongst the minority community as well. To share a study with you that came out recently, the positivity rate, meaning what percent were positive, amongst the white population, it was 10% in a study done in the Washington, Baltimore area. Amongst Black, it was at near close to 20% of the Blacks who were tested were positive. And among Hispanics, it was as high as 40%. So this gives you a perspective that amongst minorities, this virus is very much prevalent and it is affecting them disproportionately. How can we protect ourselves? I'll get to that in a minute. But first, I will say that what we have seen is a rise after major weekends. First was the Mother's Day weekend, then the Memorial Day weekend. We know that the virus spreads when we are together in social settings. We have another big weekend coming up. It's going to be the 4th of July. We know that people are going to be getting together and the weather may be beautiful. How can you do things differently? How can you tell your friends and family and neighbors to do things differently? And I know that you have to do things differently because you do not want the virus to be transmitted to you and then unknowingly you transmit it to your family members. What we know is something that works. Masking makes a huge difference. We know that a simple mask reduces the risk of transmission from about 18% down to 3%. So just imagine a person who's not wearing a mask stands and talks to somebody within 6 feet for more than 10 to 15 minutes, 18 to 20 people will get infected. If you wear a mask, that is down nearly fivefold, only 3 people who would be infected. Huge difference. So masking is very simple. And yes, you can go to a restaurant, wear a mask, and then you can take the mask off, eat. You do not want to infect the server. You don't want the server to infect you. The second thing is just keeping a distance. 6 feet can make lifetime of difference in a person's protection from the COVID virus. And so keeping that distance, stepping back and talk to people, wearing a mask, and enjoy and do the celebrations that you're doing. But keep those 2 things in mind and you will protect yourself from the COVID virus. And so understand that this is in our community and understand that there is clear ways that we can protect ourselves. And so I wish you all a very happy holidays, the 4th of July, and that there are ways that you can protect yourself and that we need to do this. So Chairwoman, I will pause with that and answer questions from folks.
Okay, we do have a couple of questions. Hold on. The first question, it says, when a person is isolated, how do they continue to get their food and household necessities since they can't leave home? And they want us to also share with them what happens when you have been exposed. How many do you have to self-quarantine? Does that mean that you go stay with your best friend for 14 days? Or do you stay at home alone? And then how do you get the necessities that you need while you're home alone? Dr. Randolph, can you start that off?
I started off. Well, when a person tests positive or been infected with the virus, they go into isolation. When a person has been exposed to someone who's infected, but they may not necessarily, they haven't come down with the infection themselves, they go into quarantine. Now, isolation, the minimal period of time for isolation is 10 days. Within those 10 days, they are not to leave their home. If they're in the home with other people, they should be in a room by themselves. And they should not leave the room, nor should someone enter the room. If they can have a private bathroom, fine. Otherwise, they would have to share a bathroom. But when that happens, they should wear a mask, and they should also clean and disinfect after they use the restroom or whatever they touch. Now, when you're in isolation, then you need to have arrangement for your needs to be met. Someone should bring your food and other necessities. Now, if you are in isolation, if we place you in isolation and you do not have anyone to care for your needs, then that becomes a responsibility of the health department. So let's say, for example, if we place a person in isolation or quarantine at a hotel, then we are responsible for making sure that the person receives food and other necessities while they're in isolation or quarantine, if they have no one else to do so. Now, if they're in isolation, minimal of 10 days, within those 10 days, their symptoms must resolve, they must recover, and they must go 72 hours without fever. Then they can be released. Quarantine is 14 days. And the reason for that is because the incubation period for the virus can be anywhere from 2 to 14 days, although on average it's around 5 to 7. While in quarantine, no, they're not to go visit their friends. They are to also isolate, be in the room by themselves, and also have someone else provide for their needs.
Okay, thank you. And now we better understand the difference between isolation and quarantined at home. Okay, I got it. So I hope I don't see any other questions about that. Dr. Jane, did you have any comments? We don't have any other questions here about the COVID-19. I guess everybody know what they're supposed to do.
I'm looking at on the chat. There are some questions that are related to pool and swimming pool and social distancing. So just to
Okay.
answer that question that folks have, there is no evidence that there is any transmission of the virus through the swimming pool or that. So generally that's safe. Just keep your social distance 6 feet from others when you're in the pool area. I think that's what's important. And I'm reading that there's some other questions. So the question.
I see them now. Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. So when will there be widespread asymptomatic testing? Very good question. So I want to make sure that people understand what asymptomatic testing is. We know that the COVID virus causes symptoms, fever, cough, shortness of breath. But only a small number of people really have that. Out of 100, maybe 20 or so will have really bad symptoms of that. Maybe another 20 to 30% will have a little bit of a mild illness, and another small percentage will have no symptoms at all. There's a large percentage that will have these mild, and they continue day to day, and they can still be somewhat what could be pre-symptomatic before the symptoms began, or asymptomatic. The problem is that group of individuals transmit the virus. However, we can stop that transmission by doing what we call asymptomatic testing. Mayor Strickland and their team, and I'm part of that, we have a strategy where we are working at businesses, for schools and others, to encourage testing for asymptomatic. We have a strategy that can also work to reduce the cost of a test, which is about $100, and using something called pooling strategy that can bring that cost down to maybe $20. It's still working on some of those preliminary works, but that will capture a lot of asymptomatic individuals. so that they will not be infected or will not infect others.
Okay, you see the next question.
Should a person with underlying conditions and who has isolated for months be tested? So the answer is generally not. So if you have been in isolation or you have been in quarantine, meaning you have not been exposed to others, you have been generally very, very careful, it is very unlikely that you will be COVID positive. Why? Because the virus has a course of about 14 days. In 14 days, you get better, it resolves, you may have some mild symptoms or no symptoms. And so if you've been in isolation, if you've been away from people for 14 days, there is no reason for you to be tested, even if you have underlying conditions. However, if you have been outside, even I know a lot of people have been involved in the protests, and I really appreciate and commend you for showing your voice and your effort for that. We do encourage always wear a mask, try to keep your distance, and then also get tested. From the preliminary studies that we've seen, Minneapolis, other places, there was not a large increase in the number of individuals who were being tested after the protest. So that's really good that people took precautions in wearing a mask and so forth. Dr. Randolph, I think the next question is for you, I believe. It said, yeah, phase 3 did not begin last week as planned. How long will we stay in phase 2?
Well, we decide on what we're going to do, not based on a date, but on the data. And we are looking at the numbers to see what's happening in terms of the positivity rate. You heard Dr. Jane mention that. Number of new cases, number of people being hospitalized, how many people are in the intensive care unit, how well we can track and monitor people who are in isolation and who needs to go in quarantine. All of these factors play in terms of moving from one phase to the other. But the other thing I want to get across to people is that they need to understand that the business, back to business plan is a framework whereby we would use an approach to get our economy back functioning and working. But it's the health directive that spells out the requirements for an individual or business or services to operate. And the health directives that we issue are not based on a set time, are not even whether or not a set phase, but whether or not the data would allow us to allow certain businesses to function under certain parameters and certain safety measures. So to answer your question, we don't know when we'll get to quote phase 3. The more important thing is to pay attention to what the health directives allow you to do and what businesses are allowed to operate under the given health directive.
Okay. Thank you. In our live chat, someone asked, and either one of you can answer this question, why are our youth not taking this seriously?
So I think youth will always be youth in their thinking that can be that they are invincible. And how do I convince my 20-year-old son and 24-year-old daughter? We have to sit down and have a conversation with them. They're going off to college in a couple of months, and they need to understand that this is a real risk. And so what I want to let folks know, that our children, our youth will listen to us. We just need to take time to help them understand that what they do is going to maybe not impact them. They may feel fine, just get a bad cold, but they will be causing a virus to become penetrating into the family, into the extended family, to the parents, grandparents, and it could be fatal for some of them.
Thank you. I have one last question, but I want to say that this evening, my little granddaughter just graduated from kindergarten, not kindergarten,
Yay.
but pre-K. And she told me, you couldn't come, Granny, because of this coronavirus stuff. So children do
They
understand.
do understand.
Our older young people may be ignoring it, just like you said. But I do have another question here, and I need to read it. It says, some of us are currently flying to other parts of the country. If the airlines can mandate that we wear masks, can our city, county not do the same thing while in public spaces? Well, everyone knows that the city council passed an ordinance. We're now waiting on the mayor to sign it, but we can ask, what can the health department do? Dr. Randolph.
Well, yes. If you notice in the health directive, we say that we strongly encourage businesses to encourage their customers to wear masks. Their employees are required to. But the businesses we encourage, and we say that there's nothing in this directive that prohibits a business from requiring someone to wear a mask, just as they require someone to wear shoes or a shirt. Our legal counsel has advised me that a health directive could not be issued to force someone to wear a mask who's not infected with the disease. Now, I can issue health directives that direct someone who's infected to do something, but a healthy person, there's no evidence, obvious medical, epidemiological evidence that this person is infected, that I was advised that we could not mandate that. Of course, we're in support. We feel that everyone should wear a mask. We're in support of that, but it's just from the legal. The other side of that is the governor in his executive orders have not mandated the wearing of masks or facial covering. He strongly advises it, encourages it, but it has not been mandated. And throughout the U.S., there have been several instances where people are challenging those orders or laws that are mandating it, especially for a healthy person where there's no obvious sign of a communicable disease.
Okay, thank you for your response. We're encouraging as the Memphis City Council that everyone mask up so that they can live and that other people can live, and we not impact our families in a negative manner. Thank you both, Dr. Randolph and Dr. James, for participating today. We'll be calling on you again, and we appreciate your time. You may leave if you'd like. If not, you can listen to our second segment of the town hall meeting where we'll be talking to Albert Lamar. He's been the director of the Solid Waste Division of the City of Memphis since December 2018. Director Lamar has an extensive educational background. To name a few, he has received a Master of Science degree in logistical management at the University of Maryland, a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and public administration at the University of Memphis, as well as an associate degree in general studies at Wentworth Military Academy. I'd like to introduce to District 3 and anyone else listening or viewing our town hall today. Albert Lamar, you have the floor.
Good evening, Councilwoman Robinson.
Good evening.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're quite welcome.
We're going through some very difficult times in the city of Memphis. Okay, the business of solid waste is one that's ever changing, and it's totally affected by COVID-19. In an effort to try and keep the solid waste workers and the citizens in Memphis completely safe, we've instituted quite a few measures. The one that got a lot of playback was we went to cart-only service, garbage cart and recycle cart service. We will not be picking up any garbage or household trash that's placed outside of the cart. Now, that does not mean we're not picking up any trash that's outside the cart. Those types of trash are picked up using equipment, our grapplers and so forth, and we'll continue to pick that up. But as far as our solid waste employees handling bags with the growing number of COVID quarantine and isolations that we have in the city of Memphis, we will not be handling those outside of the car trash bags. Only 2 bags of yard waste on a regular service week, and on normal bulk service, we will pick up. We will do the bulk service according to our service delivery model. One of the things that I've already found out is that a lot of people are not well versed as to when their bulk service should be delivered. We have the advantage of an app. Okay, it's the Memphis Curbside Collection app. It's for Apple and Android. Any of your District 3 members, constituent, can download the Memphis Curbside Collection app for Apple and Android, put their address in, it will give them an icon that outlines when their service delivery dates are. Those service delivery dates, it will sort out bulk versus regular trash. And we only ask that the citizens put out the bulk trash on the week of their service delivery date. Right now in District 3, we're about a day and a half behind as far as our service delivery schedule. Okay, we have a model of dealing with waste. If we have a miss, to take care of those misses in less than 48 hours. So we're basically on point with not going over 48 hours for any missed service. But we're about a day and a half behind on the delivery of service on the regular scheduled date. So we ask that the citizens of Memphis continue to be patient with us. Okay, being patient. Put your carts out on the curb. Put them out on time. We're gonna get them. We're gonna get them empty. Now, some of you all may have noticed that the garbage crews are dumping recycled trash in with the garbage. We have not given up on recycle in the city of Memphis. We have found that based on the large amount of waste that's being generated, that some customers are running out of space. And so what we're doing is we're checking each household garbage and recycle to ensure that the recycle is not contaminated. If recycle is contaminated, we're going to go ahead and dump that in with the garbage so that we get the waste removed from the curb. This helps us a lot in that We don't have excess waste sitting on somebody's curb waiting for the appropriate truck to come by so that we can get it empty. This allows the customer to get the refuge removed earliest possible date, and so that we can get it to the landfill. The contaminated recycle, habitually, when we identify it, it ends up going to landfill anyway. So this just allows us to deliver a higher quality of service right now. If you can recycle, we ask Memphis to continue to recycle. We're going to get that recycled material. But if there's issues with space at the curb, we're going to take care of that part too. Again, go to the Memphis Curbside Collection app. If you're not clear as to your bulk service delivery dates, everyone in Memphis is on a first and third, second and fourth week. Once a quarter, we have a fifth week, and we normally dedicate that fifth week to ensuring that we pull the misses that we have during that time period without an impact of service. So continue doing a great job, Memphis. We're in this fight together, and we're going to get through this. We have a lot of waste on the street, and these solid waste employees, they're doing an incredible job at staying focused on removing the trash so we can deliver to you a better level of service. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Director Lamar. Let me ask you just a couple of questions. I have some questions here in the live chat, but can you first tell us explain to me and the audience, what is bulk service?
Okay, bulk service. The bulk service is when we have customers who may have bought a new couch, the old one doesn't work, and they need to discard that couch. They can put that couch out on the curb. That's considered bulk service. Okay. If they have a bedroom set that they need to put out, or mattresses that they need to put out, they can put out up to 4 tires without the rim on the curb. We pick those up during the bulk service. The regular service is garbage, recycle, and 2 bags of yard waste. Bulk service is all the other big stuff, the large piles of leaves and limbs and so forth out there. We have to be careful about when we're doing with leaves and limbs and so forth, because we have a city ordinance that dictate that the citizens of Memphis cannot put limbs and trees out on their curb that are greater than 13 inches in diameter or 5 feet in length. Okay, so the bulk service is just about everything else, and they can put it out in a quantity of 10 cubic yards. The trucks that we use hold 20 cubic yards. So basically we're going to put, they can put out half a truckload on their curb. If you want to equate that to bags of leaves, 10 cubic yards is about 32 to 30 some bags of leaves.
Okay, let me ask one other question. So bulk service is when?
It's either the first and the third week or the second and the fourth. You get 2 bulk service dates each month.
Okay. Now, at one time, you told us when we had the 2 bags outside of our can to put it in the can because you didn't want the sanitation workers having to handle those. So now we can put them back outside the can?
The 2 bags of yard waste that's outside the can, we're going to get those. We're going to get those every week. What we can't pick up are household trash, the trash that's coming out of the house that they will put outside the cart. Okay.
Okay.
If it's household trash, it must be inside the cart so that we have a chance to keep those exceptional solid waste employees those emergency responders, we can keep them out working to keep removing all of this waste. So we want to keep safe.
Okay. I have another question here. Will you please explain to us what is clean recycling and what is contaminated recycling?
Okay, we have different grades. We have different grades of plastics, aluminums, and so forth. Okay, so if we have like someone drinks a lot of milk, they have 5 milk jugs, and they put those loose milk jugs in their recycle cart. But then they also throw a box of KFC in that recycle bin. That's going to be contaminated recycle. So we have to make sure that we keep just the loose recycled material, the aluminums, the plastics, the glass, and so forth. We have to make sure we keep those separated in there. We have to keep the food, the leaves, and so forth out of that recycle, because we can't sort it and it damages the value of them, which means that Memphis just won't get the bang for the buck out of a city of Memphis recycling program by doing this.
Okay. How has COVID-19 impacted your work?
Well, I'll put it this way. I want you to it's the same for each household, okay? Because there's not as many restaurants open and so forth. The average customer is going out and they're buying more food at the grocery store. So in essence, if they normally, let's say a customer puts out 10 bags of trash a week, okay? The average is now up, they're putting out 13, 14, 15 bags of trash per week. Our volume has gone up anywhere from 30 to 40%. With that amount, we had a lot of people at home doing spring cleaning out the garage, cleaning out the house, and so forth. So we ended up with a tremendous amount outside the cart or bulk waste on the curb. It was so much that we ended up having to execute an emergency contract to get assistance in picking up the bulk waste that's on the curb, and we're still trying to get caught up. The bulk waste right now, we have in your district right now, we have 109 calls that we're behind in just bulk waste. Okay, so we're a little bit over a day and a half, just under 2 days, in getting the additional bulk waste that we have up. But we're doing that with both C and contracted services in an attempt to keep up with the amount of waste just being generated, whether that's garbage recycle or outside the cart.
Okay, so I have several questions in the live comments, and we have a few minutes, so I'm going to read those questions to you, and you please try to respond.
Yes,
Why
ma'am.
can't the city get a grip on picking up solid waste, bag leaves, and garbage?
I'm not sure what they mean by get a grip on it. We have the solid waste. We have approximately a little over 525 employees. These individuals, they come to work, they put in the hours. We have a really good plan. We bought almost $30 million worth of equipment and so forth, so that the employees can get there and they have a chance to do the work that you all have deemed necessary. This past year, we had all the leaves in Memphis fall within a 6-week period. That put, on essence, an additional 328,000 tons of leaves on the street at one time that we normally don't get. We normally get it over a 5 to 6 month period. So when you condense some of the operations that's going on over such a short period of time, there are just inherent issues with picking it up in such a short period of time. We have measures in place, the emergency contracts and so forth, that allow us the opportunity to do it in the fastest manner possible. But I can tell you, myself, my management team, we are constantly evaluating our delivery of service. We're getting better at it every day.
Okay. So we have a couple of other questions. So let me make sure that I understand what you just said, that the weather conditions impact what happens with you picking up trash as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And COVID had something to do with it as well. The citizens in District 3 have stated that they want their trash picked up and we want some guaranteed service. So, what can we anticipate moving forward so that we can get this matter taken care of? And they say that they've been waiting a long time.
One piece on the guaranteed service.
Mm-hmm.
Know your schedule. By knowing your schedule, and you put the outside the cart waste out on the appropriate week and not a week early, and so forth. If then we can get it on that service delivery date. If you miss put your cart out on time, okay, and that service, don't call it in just call it in and just let us know you forgot to put it out on time, okay? Be honest with us so that we're gonna get it one way or the other, okay? But let's call it in for what it is. And also, I will also tell Memphis, hey, please understand, these guys are working extremely hard to ensure that we bring you the service that you're asking for. It is not an easy job. So we ask that you, when you put your bags in your garbage, tie them up. Don't put loose bags in there, because when we go in and tip them and trash flies over the street, or they put various amounts of items and they just sit them out on the curb. These guys have a time limit. They have to, on average, service 400 to 600 houses a day, on average, with 2 carts per house. That's a man-sized load. So put your waste out on time. Close your bags, and allow us the opportunity to get them. We're gonna get it, and we're gonna get it in a predictable fashion.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate you being here today. There are several other questions in the live feed, and you can see them on your page or in the chat. I have been asked to close us out. I appreciate you responding and being here for us today. And if I get any additional questions, I'll make sure that you get them so that we can get those questions answered for our constituents. As the chairwoman of the Memphis City Council, I want to personally and on behalf of the entire council express to our solid waste workers, they matter to us and we are indebted to them. I assume that they've been working extra hours because a lot of folks are at home and they're cleaning out their attics, they're cleaning out their storage rooms, their backyards, just like the rest of us. And we want them to be safe. So we're saying to you, thank you, all of our sanitation workers in the city of Memphis. I want to thank everyone who participated today for our live town hall meeting that happens to be virtual. Thank you for being here this evening, and you and your family have a good evening.